Hey, this is Mr. Woodward reporting for duty. This is a screencast of the overview for the profile. I'll give you a sense of this assignment and what lies ahead in the next couple weeks. And so you may have already read Axelrod and Cooper's chapter about profiles, and you may have a sense of what a profile is. To put it as briefly as possible, the purpose of a profile is to paint a portrait of a person, and in our case, a person in a profession. And so you're going to write a profile about a person that's at the same time about that person's profession. Who are you writing it for? I'm not being as prescriptive about audience as I was with the memoir, although it's a similar sort of audience where you're writing for people who for some reason have an interest in the profession of this person that you're profiling. So it could be, like with the memoir, it could be first-year students in a major that leads to that profession, but it does not have to be. You decide in your prospectus, which is the pre-writing for this profile. You decide who your audience is, and you determine that and define that audience yourself. So your topic is sort of a double topic. You need to find a person to write about, and of course, by writing about that person, you're writing about that person's profession. And by profession, I don't mean their overall field in which they work, as it says in the handout. I mean their specific job. You're showing people what it's like to be a chef at an Indian restaurant, or what it's like to be an associate professor of chemistry, rather than trying to show people what it's like to be a professor generally, or to work in a restaurant, or to be a chef generally. Very focused on the specific job. And so I try to put it in a nutshell in one sentence here, and this thing's not cooperating, but there we go. In a profile, your purpose is to use words to create a vivid, informative portrait to entertain and educate readers. It's sort of a sneaky, informative. It's informative in a sneaky way. It might seem like a story or a portrait. It's not necessarily a narrative. We'll get to that. But while your reader is entertained by the portrait, there's information being snuck in there about the profession in this case. The reading assignment by Axelrod and Cooper has excellent advice about organizing a profile, and they kind of narrow it down to two choices. Some of you will find it makes the most sense to organize it like a story, chronologically, like a narrative. Sometimes because the way you observed, or what you observed, or what was happening when you observed, it makes more sense to take a topical approach. And I'm counting on Axelrod and Cooper to explain topical versus chronological, so look at that again if you don't recall. Length, we're shooting for about the same length as the memoir, 3 to 5 double-spaced typed pages. Now this is kind of a research project. It's field research, though. You're observing someone at work, and you're sitting down with them to ask them questions about their work. And so it's observation and interview. And so you have to work that into your schedule, and I hope it won't be a difficulty. And we can talk, I'll talk a little later about how that fits into the process, how that research fits into the process. But so budget some time for that. It doesn't have to all be at once, but you have to figure out how to budget that time. You can do additional research by, more academic style research, looking things up in library sources or online sources or databases or whatever. If you feel like you want to have certain information about the profession that you didn't get from interviewing the person. For example, if you wanted to mention the average salary for someone in that profession, you could find out online, you could include that. Just make sure you use those sources properly. It doesn't have to be an APA format for a profile. Profiles don't use APA format or any academic format. But give credit to your sources, and put a list of sources at the end of your profile. The process is a little more involved because of the research and the nature of this assignment. And so we're following the basic process we followed with the others, but like I said, it's a little different. The prospectus, we're going to kind of do the prospectus, which is what I'm calling the pre-writing for this assignment. You know, I'm trying to get across the idea that pre-writing takes different forms and has different names for different assignments and in different fields. So we're calling it a prospectus. That's sort of like a plan and a description of something you're going to write. But we're going to do it in 2 stages because of the research. So before you do the research, you do parts 1 and 2 of the prospectus to identify your topic and profile an audience, define an audience. I will look at that and give you some feedback. And then you'll do your research. You'll do your observation and interview, and that gives you the raw material to do the 3rd part of the prospectus, and that's the 2nd stage. When you have all 3 parts of your prospectus ready, you'll show them to your teammates and get some feedback, and then send it to me like we've done before and get my feedback. There's lots of good advice about planning and brainstorming and all that that's particularly tailored to a profile that's in Axelrod and Cooper's chapter. And so, you know, look at that and take their advice, adapt it to our assignment, of course. Also, another thing that's new to this process is, you know, they talk also in the reading assignment about taking notes on what you've observed and what you got from the interview. It's really good advice on how to take notes and how to handle your notes and what the notes are for. So I encourage you to, you know, get those ideas about taking notes from Axelrod and Cooper. I'm not going to grade your notes, but I want you to submit the notes when you submit draft 3.3 so I can see that you've done them and I can take a look at them, and they don't have to make total sense to me. They're your notes. They can be handwritten and you can scan them, or they can be typed, but you make sure you do take notes and that they are the notes that provide the basis for your draft. Drafting, as I've been trying to emphasize all semester long, your plans and ideas may change and evolve as you're drafting, and that's fine. So the pre-writing is not, you know, set in stone. Same with revision. You might change some ideas or reorganize things. And editing, of course, will be important again. Plagiarism risk assessment. I try to look at each assignment and think about, you know, what are the factors that relate to plagiarism. Of course, in Axelrod and Cooper, you're reading profiles. There are other profiles out there that you can read. Some of them might fit our assignment. A lot of them wouldn't. It's no problem to read other profiles that you seek out or stumble across, as long as you're careful not to, you know, borrow too heavily from them. They might show you a way to organize your own profile, for example. But of course you wouldn't want to lift a paragraph from that profile and put it into your own profile, and you know that. And you would never do that, so why even say it? Anyway, also, like I said earlier, if you use other forms of research, including online, just make sure you handle them properly and notify me and your readers of the use of those sources. Okay, so over and out. I'll talk to you.